Yeah, so, my device ran out of power when I was, filming that last part, so sorry for the sudden cut-off. But you must be used to those at this point. Okay. Whatever, you get what I mean, Link said, annoyed, before he grabbed the doorknob, opened the door, walked outside, and slammed the door. I'm glad we got that full set of instructions. It's a very important, crucial part of the story. Chris looks at Lucario. Yes, I think he's still very upset, Lucario sighed. I wish he wasn't upset. I'd wish he wasn't upset. I would wish he wasn't upset, under normal circumstances, but here I'm fine with it. And I wish he'd stayed here some more to play the game, Salvatore commented. Somewhere between Russian and Spanish. I was going more Spanish, but I failed. Still, Salvatore commented, still using the cutout. I mean, come back again, misters, he said in a high-pitched tone. Freaked out a bit by the weird business person, Lucario and Chris quickly opened the door and ran outside before closing it. Stop! Salvatore sighed and put down his cutout. Oh well, everything's good in the business day, he muttered, bored on the podium. Town's center. After reaching a grumbling Link, the Hylian turned around to look at them. Okay, fine. Let's see where we can get a sail for the boat. The Aura apprentice sighed in relief. We're finally getting back on track for once. I guess, Link said. I was growing bored with playing that game anyway. Lucario shook his head. No, you were actually looking very serious in playing that weird game. Who asked you for your opinion? Link asked angrily before turning around, finding a lone door that had a chalkboard that read, Mrs. Marie's Whoa. I'm afraid this is... I'm going to do the rest of it upside down, I guess. Hold on. That's better. Mrs. Marie's School of Joy on white letters. That's definitely a brothel. Let's see if we can find a sail in there. No, but you can probably find many other things. Maybe sexually transmitted diseases. Chris stared at the entrance to the only school in the island. You're not going to find a sail in there. That's the wrong place. It might be there, he thought and said. Let's see. Lucario leaned to the wall and crossed his arms. I'm going to stay here to breathe more air, he said. Well, I'm glad you clarified. His trainer nodded. Okay, wait for us here, Chris said before he and Link entered the school. His trainer nodded. Okay, wait for us here, Chris said before he and Link entered the school, closing the door behind them. To breathe more air. Who the fuck says that? I'll wait here. I wanna breathe some fucking air. You know how it is. Lucario closed his eyes and decided to rest. However, as soon as he closed his eyes, Lucario felt that there were 4 presences spying on him from some bushes nearby. They're kids, right? I guess he probably wants to kill them. Seeing that whoever was hiding behind the bushes, he didn't pay attention, knowing that they weren't dangerous. Okay, well that's alright then. Makes a change. The bushes rustled a bit before some whispers came out of them. Boss, there he is, a voice whispered. Cool dog man, sighted at 3. Awesome, another voice whispered back. It's the first time we ever get to see a cool person around here. I was getting sick of seeing common sailors and visitors now, another voice said. However, we finally found someone we consider so cool. Yeah, I mean, he has 3 spikes, another voice said. How cool is that? I can't even remember what the voices I was doing now. So, what's the plan, boss? Quite simple. We just go there and ask if he's interested in joining us. I'm trying to do Jeremy Clarkson, by the way. It's not turning out so good. But my accents rarely do. But boss, he looks very intimidating. He might bark at us. If he barks, he won't bite. But if he does bite, we'll restrain him like the dog he is. With a collar. That's a plan now, boss. I don't know, I can't even fucking remember. The so-mentioned boss stood up from the bushes, revealing to be a grinning kid named Ivan, the leader, with light brown hair and a brown hat, who wore a blue jacket over a light blue shirt, brown shorts, and brown shoes. Does it have to be so detailed? It's weird, like, Chris, Original Chris never really, describes people's costumes. You know, even when they were in space, you know, it was, you know, the Space Marines or whatever, he didn't actually say what they were wearing, even though I imagine it would probably be quite different to, you know, what they'd be used to. Or what, you know, what we'd be used to in the story. Oh, yeah, well, that reminds me. When they were in space, I mean, were Lucario and Chris wearing any protective clothing? They're traveling around these weird planets. I mean, they didn't... Original and Chris didn't note any change in costume for them either. That's a bit weird. Anyway, so all of a sudden he started describing this kid's outfit in laborious detail. Okay. All right, let's put the plan on the road. Another kid named Jin the Fox, okay, stood up to his right, whose face resembled a fox, okay, with pale brown hair, wore dark green overalls over a pink shirt, and wore brown shoes. That sounds very nice, boss. I don't know, he said. To Jin's right, another one stood up. This innocent-looking kid named Jan, the blue hair, had blue hair. Wore a brown jacket over a purple shirt and wore blue pants with blue shoes. We'll definitely get the guy to join us, he said. I'm trying not to make it sound too much like Crazy Hand. Next to Jan, yet another kid stood up. This kid, named John Roberto, the pig-nosed, wore yellow and grey overalls over a pale green shirt. These kids had better be really important to the story now that you spend so much time just describing their bloody clothes. Wore yellow and grey overalls over a pale green shirt and wore brown shoes. His face resembled a bit to a pig, due to his big round nose.
Oh yeah, let's do it,
he said. Ivan pointed at Lucario. Killer bees, go! He commanded. The four kids began to chuckle to themselves before they jumped out from the bushes and ran to Lucario. Once they reached him, they all seemed to corner him, since they all stood around him. Lucario opened his eyes and looked down at the children.
What is it?
He asked. Ivan chuckled coolly and pointed up at Lucario. We want you to join the killer bees, he said. Lucario studied the little kids before he closed his eyes and shook his head.
I'll pass.
He closed his eyes. Jin tapped Ivan's shoulder.
Boss, I think we should come up with a better idea.
Who the fuck's Jan? Okay, Jan.
Oh, no need,
Jan said before he looked up innocently at Lucario.
Oh, come on, mister. We would like you to join us. Just think about all the stuff we could do. No,
came as a response from the seemingly bored Lucario. John Roberto grunted.
Mister, you wouldn't want us to be angry at you, would you? Actually, I don't care about joining a group,
Lucario responded.
Now please, leave me alone. I'm waiting for some people to come here.
A tiny vein popped out of Ivan's forehead. That's it! I'm not going to stand here and see this guy reject us like we were nothing to him. We are the killer bees, and nobody messes with us like you're doing right now, he proclaimed before pointing up at Lucario. Mess him up and get him, he ordered loudly, the four kids suddenly leaping at the bored Lucario. That doesn't bode too well. Although I don't have too much sympathy for them, it wouldn't be great if Lucario murdered people, especially kids. Although I suppose he wouldn't necessarily be adverse to it. Mrs. Marie's classroom. As a small feud broke outside, Link and Chris were talking to the teacher of the school, Mrs. Marie, a pink-haired woman who wore long-sleeved blue jacket with an orange shirt underneath, blue belt, and wore purple shorts with blue shoes. Fuck this shit.